Okay, here for a video. All right. So, I hope all is well. Everyone is doing well out there, having a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. You know, if you celebrate it in the United States. And we are here to do a short video on the power of change and how embracing your dark side is actually a key to success in that regard. So, if you want to make any lasting change in your life, then it's really important to really embrace wholeness in that aspect. So, I guess I'll describe a usual scenario whenever we want to change something about ourselves. So, oftentimes, we will want to make a change in our body, make a change in our life, make a change in our career, make a change in our work, make a change in our lifestyle. And usually that involves a changing of habits or changing of behavior. And what usually happens whenever we try to do this? We want to move forward in life. We want to change something that we're doing, cut out something that's no longer wanted, and become something that we do want. And often what happens initially, especially in the early stages, is we aim for something and yet we fall short of that. Something that we want to take out. For example, let's say we want to stop eating a certain thing, stop doing a certain thing, a certain behavior. We find that we keep doing that over and over. You know, this often happens whenever we are making New Year's resolutions. And often we struggle in those early phases with making changes. And we tend to get discouraged when this happens. And you know, we also always get frustrated and angry at ourselves. Like, why did that happen again? I can't believe I did that again. Why do I always do this? Why do I always do this? And this is something that can eventually cause us to get so angry with ourselves that we just beat ourselves up and ultimately just give up. And this is something that is very, very, very familiar, especially when we're trying to make a New Year's resolution at the beginning of the year, change something big about ourselves. And this is, you know, something that can be overcome, but we are often trying to push through these changes with willpower, and that's where we run into trouble. Another aspect of our dark selves that kind of gets in the way is whenever we want to make a change, and we always have these recurring things that sort of come out, and it could be we're trying to maybe change our relationship with someone in our life, you know, whether it's a lover or spouse, parents, and we have this dark aspect of ourselves that just comes up over and over and over again, and we just wonder why this is happening. This could be, you know, that bitchy part of ourselves that always wants to pick a fight, be in a fight, a colder part of ourselves that wants to pull away. This happens over and over and over again. And eventually, we just wears us down and we get very frustrated, and we just not only does the situation not get resolved, but we tend to beat ourselves up over it over and over again. And that is even worse. So we're getting frustrated on where we're going, as in like trying to move towards the goal. We're getting frustrated because we're not achieving that, but we're also shooting inwardly, stabbing ourselves because we're beating ourselves up over and over because we're not getting where we want. So this is definitely an interesting aspect that is not being fruitful, not being productive in us achieving our goals, but it is very common. So today we're kind of talking about the dark side of ourselves, that dark side that no one wants to encounter, and why we actually may be dealing with that differently. So, what are we talking about when we talk about the dark side, your dark side? It is that aspect of yourself, just like we talked about a few seconds ago in those earlier examples, that you're ashamed of. Whenever the concept, the idea of shame comes up, when it relates to your behaviors, your recurring actions, the way you view yourself, your past, especially the past that you've behaved in, the way you've behaved in the past, whenever there's shame and guilt and regret that comes up in that, and that is often where we can find the dark aspect of ourselves. And actually, want a, I don't think I have it, but there is really truly an aspect of yourself that, because it hasn't been deemed socially acceptable, because enough people, or maybe just one or two people, have deemed it, that aspect of yourself, to be something that is not fit for society, something that is not of value. um, you tend to take that aspect of yourself and internalize it and cram it and shove it way, way down into your subconscious. And there it is just sort of tied up and thrown in the basement. And you may already know sort of what aspect of yourself resides in the basement, regardless of if it is, a your side that is prone to anger, to jealousy, to laziness. Like, what part of yourself are you most ashamed of? And I, it is my theory and my absolute idea that this is something that you should embrace and bring in. And it's not just my idea, actually. It's proven that by many minds, much before I came along the scene, that embracing your subconscious is something that is really going to be beneficial to you moving forward. And embracing the shadow aspects of yourself is something that's going to be very beneficial for you moving forward. So I guess the first question you may ask is, why would embracing something that I'm ashamed of, that I don't like to repress, that has hurt other people, why in the world would I actually release that from the basement of my subconscious and allow that out into the world? So my first answer to that is that I believe that your spirit is here to achieve wholeness within itself. And it's here to achieve and experience all aspect of itself. It's here not just to experience what society puts its A-OK on. It's, yep, it's a little shine. Like, that's great. As a human society, we want more of that. It's not just here to experience that, all the fluffy, light, glittery things that you have to offer. But your spirit is so much bigger than that. Your spirit is bigger than anything that humanity can really compartmentalize, can really put into a box. So it is also here to experience the totality of things, which also includes aspects of yourself which society is not ready for, which society says is not okay. And whenever we're doing this and we're embracing the wholeness of ourselves, when you embrace the wholeness of your spirit, that is actually going to energize you even more amazingly. And it's actually going to bring everything that you have and really concentrate the immense totality, immense power that you have, so that you can channel the entirety of yourself into what you're trying to achieve. So, in other words, it is going to be much more powerful for you to use all of yourself, including the quote unquote shadow, including the unwanted aspects of yourself. It's going to be much more effective to use all of the aspects of yourself and channel all of you towards goal completion than it is to try to pick out all the things that society says is not right and channel just the parts of you that are good. And whenever we do that, we pick out certain parts of ourselves, it tends to create pain and tends to create fractionality, if that's even a word. It tends to create basically not a sense of cohesion, a sense of loss, a sense of we're not really doing all that we can and not really channeling all that we can towards something. So that can actually create a lot of self-worth issues and a lot of pain issues. So the best thing to do is actually to use all of ourselves. And you may ask, again, returning to the original question, why would I use something that I'm ashamed of that has caused pain for people? Why would I resurrect that? Why would I bring that out of the darkness? So the first thing I want to say is, number one, because it's still a part of you and it needs to be addressed. Repressing it and pushing it down and pretending like it's not there is probably the worst thing to do. Um, because again, it tends to escape that basement and it tends to cause destruction and come out and sneak out. And oftentimes when it does break out, it breaks out with a vengeance, right? Like, for example, if your shadow, a part of your shadow aspect is anger, you can repress it, and smile, and then someone really keeps pushing their buttons. And they're saying, "Oh, she's still smiling, so I can still push her buttons even more." And you smile harder, and they keep pushing your buttons, and then the shit just breaks, and you end up snapping and really, taking their head off. And the thing that happens is you now are beating yourself up about the whole aspect, and you're no longer feeling good about it, and you're feeling horrible about yourself, who you are. And it's just a lose-lose for everyone. It's a lose for the person you snapped at. It's a lose for yourself because you are likely getting punished from it, and you're now hating yourself. On top of that, you're cutting away at your self-esteem, at your self-worth, punishing yourself, beating yourself up, and now you're afraid, and now you have ruined your blah blah blah, and it just keeps going. So if repression is the worst way, the best way is in acknowledgement and seeing that aspect of yourself, and then asking how you can use that to achieve your goals and how you can transmute that energy in a way that is going to be healthier and more effective and more productive for your life and for the lives of other people. For example, returning to that anger aspect, okay? So that anger aspect is still a part of your spirit, regardless of if you want to acknowledge it or not. And a complete repression of that is likely, again, going to cause you to throw it in the basement, ignore that angry bitch part of yourself. And eventually, though, it's going to break out and become an issue. So what you want to do instead is you want to be able to acknowledge that aspect of yourself and to allow it to come out of the basement, metaphorically, to see it, okay, to forgive it, to love it, and to allow it to express itself in healthier ways. Because when you do the option of complete repression, that's when it just tends to break out full of adrenaline, because all you've done is put your foot on its throat for like 10 years, and when it finally catches you slipping one day, you find your foot is not exactly on your throat. It throws your foot off, comes up, and just causes complete havoc in your life because it has been built up for 10 years of not expressing itself. So it just freaking freaks out. So a better way is to allow it to come out. So and of course, it's going to be done in myriad ways, and this is purely an example, and it depends on what you are dealing with and what shadow you're dealing with. But for example, anger can actually be one thing that you can use it for and transmute it for is, number one, to acknowledge the presence. You can even give it a name, if for an aspect of you, if that resonates with you and sounds good, that angrier aspect. But understand that she also brings light as well. And I think famously, Beyonce has an alter ego that she calls, Sasha Fierce, who also, in addition to her being an incredible entertainer, But Sasha also doesn't take any bullshit, is can be very sharp and very cutting with people. So this is an aspect for alter ego, which you can switch out for shadow, that has negative abilities, but that also brings positive. For example, if you have an angry bitch aspect of your shadow, that shadow side, obviously she can come out and hurt people, cause a lot of freaking havoc, and absolutely destroy relationships, destroy your prospects, destroy your career if you let her just completely fly off the hook uneducated. But in the same time, she also, what is a spirit of agency? She's a spirit of action. When channeled correctly, her energy can actually cause you to assert yourself so that you don't take anyone's bullshit. Her energy is someone that can cause you to say, you know what? Enough is enough of this horrible situation that I'm in. I'm going to create some change. I'm going to do it right the fuck now and to actually move in the direction that you want. Her energy is someone that can actually is a voice of self-love in a way. Because when someone is coming at you, or you just simply perceive that someone is attacking you or coming at you, that's when she speaks up, right? That's when she starts to start whispering things in your ear. She may need to be worked with so that you are in control to recognize when she's telling you to bring it to someone. Maybe she's quick to anger and quick to attack, but maybe you need to, learn to control that. But if someone genuinely is attacking you or you are in danger, she is somebody that you want to actually be able to channel and tap into, and to be able to get you the hell out of that situation and to fight back and to defend yourself and assert yourself when you need. So this shadow aspect might, if it's the angry bitch, if that's what it is, as just one example, she not only brings negativity, but she also brings positive aspects that can actually be channeled and work to your favor. So the first thing you should figure out is, what are shadow aspects of myself? What are parts of myself that I'm ashamed of, that I kind of keep blocked away in the back of my mind, so that I'm ashamed of them and I don't let them see the light of day? What are those? And you might need to take a moment and figure that out, and figure out what you need to think about. And you can do this journaling. You can do this with, as I like to do, with cards, and just spend some time in it. Ask yourself. And you can also do it through simply just writing, again, journaling, just free form. Just don't let the pen leave the paper. Write about what have you done? What do you think about doing sometimes when you're pressed to the wall that you wouldn't dare do, or you would be ashamed to admit that you're thinking of doing? And that can actually lead you to where your shadow lies. What sort of shadow aspects you have. And you're just going to bring that out, figure that out, and write it out. Okay? It could be all sorts of things. And then when you have it, when you've named it, what it is, you want to really look at it and understand that's a part of you. That is a part of you that likely is a combination of nature and nurture, as they say. Something that you inherited from your wonderful ancestors that came before you, but also could have been intensified by situations that you went through in your life. And I want it's really important that you forgive yourself for her expression in the past that she may have done. She may have hurt other people, hurt yourself, did incredible damage. But it's really important for you to forgive that aspect of yourself and to say, I love you. And just to know that that's important to do. And there's a really good exercise called I'm not gonna get this right, so I'm gonna look it up. Ho'opono. Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. All right. It's a traditional Hawaiian uh, prayer. And this is very, very common. And um, of course, this is the most common mainstream aspect of it. Like it is definitely something that is, I know, is definitely deeper than the super simplified version that has made the mainstream um, news. But anyway, even the very super simplified, non-traditionalist, non-denominational version that we have that's made it to Western society has four, I believe it's four steps that that are included in this. This is a great exercise to practice with your shadow self. And those four steps are saying, I'm sorry. Number one, I'm sorry for fill in the blank. So you're going to talk about, look at this part of yourself. Again, if it's the angry bitch, you know, I'm sorry for basically chaining you up and throwing you in the basement. I'm sorry for, repressing you. I'm sorry for denigrating you, for demonizing you. I'm sorry for beating you up. And understand this is an aspect of yourself, okay? Please forgive me for fill in that blank. Forgive me for all what I've done to you, for, attacking you, for being angry all the time. All right? You're going to then thank it for doing its best. This is an aspect of yourself that exists because it is often, it's a part of you, and it's operating out of a sense of trying to give you what you thinks you want, pleasure. If it's laziness or addictive personality or anything like that, it's trying to take care of you, make you happy. Okay, it may not be what you want because in the whole, your greater higher self is saying, this addictive behavior is not what is not good for me. But that aspect, that shadowy aspect of yourself is trying to, in its way, is trying to take care of you. It's trying to give you good things. Okay, so you want to thank it. And then you want to say, I love you. And this is important. So, and even if you have the ability to look in a mirror and say these words, or to write them in a journal and write out these things, you're going to say, I love you. So, Ho'oponopono is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and then I love you. And after that, you want to list what are some strengths that the shadow gives you. Like we did an earlier example with the angry aspect of yourself. And you're gonna go through and think about things like that, do that. And you're also gonna think about healthier ways that you actually can let this aspect of yourself express itself in a healthy way. For example, anger often can express itself in a healthier way through, let's just say, through physical activity. There's just some examples. There's so many examples you can come up with that fit you, particularly what you're looking for. Even in the one category of anger, there's so many different ways that you can kind of funnel this through, because anger has different aspects to it, different moving parts. But physical exertion and sports exercise is a great way to express anger. Also, competition is a good way to get out anger, because anger is aggressive, often an aggressive need to get this energy to do something physical and to get this energy out of your body. Any sort of competitive nature can do that as well. So you want to really spend time and figure what can this do for me, and how can I get it out of that. So think again like the Beyonce Sasha Fierce sort of example. Okay, so it could have very well have begun with Sasha Fierce having, before she even was named that, being the bitch, the supreme bitch. She was just super short with people and just knew that had a sense of arrogance about her and just very short temper. But at the same time, she knew what she wanted, and she was very much that same diva energy that made her hard to deal with was also something that also was able to get things done and also put on an amazing performance and amazing artistic expression. So really talk to it and ask it, how can I use you to do what I want to do and express myself in a healthy way to get a goal. Okay. So you can also use the tarot as I love to do. So yes, I am a certified hypnotic coach, certified consulting hypnotist, and I am also a tarot consultant, and I love using the cards. So I just like to do a quick pull and two things. Okay. So card number one is, what is a shadow aspect of myself? Card number two is going to be, how can I use it to the best of my ability, to the best of goals? So the first one I have is Two of Swords. This is a shadow aspect. And the how can I use it for the best of my ability is going to be Judgment. Let's see if I can get these in the right order. I think it's, yeah. So if I was reading these as far as a shadow aspect of myself, Two of Swords, indecision. So indecision is always going to be, and I actually can relate to that indecision, as far as not being able to make a decision and trying just to always go back and forth and not being able to decide. So that can often come up as and you even see, and I love this deck. This is Darkwood Tarot by Sasha Graham, and Abigail Larson is the illustrator. It's really beautiful deck, and it's particularly a shadow deck as well, and it's really designed to work with shadow aspects of yourself. So this is the Two of Swords, which I would read it as an inability to make decisions, indecisiveness. So something that I'm ashamed of is it's often hard for me to make a decision. I tend to waffle, go back and forth, and not be able to decide. And I love the fact that it's even surrounded by like some little demons all over here and whatnot. And this card is often associated with us overthinking things and just not really trusting ourselves. So this is definitely a indecisiveness would be the shadow aspect. And how can I use that to really help me? And what I see here is, so we have the Judgment card, and Judgment, I tend to think, it's funny because this is literally kind of reminds me of as in judgment, as in making a judgment, making a decision, and picking something. And this, what I see here, is literally just trusting my intuition, trusting my gut, trusting the first thing that comes through. I tend to associate this card with the element of fire. I know that's with some tarot people that read tarot. There's some debate on if it's fire or water. I like to associate this with fire. And to me, fire is very intuitive, more intuitive. So water is too. Both of them to me are intuitive energies. So it's literally just kind of like stick a decision and just make it and hold it. But also the way I kind of viewing indecision as a gift is because I want to experience all aspects of something. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's because I really want to think long and hard about all parts of my decision. I want to think about what if I choose A, I want to think long and hard about everything that involves that choice. And if I choose B, I want to think long and hard about everything that comes from that choice as well. And I feel as though it's kind of wanting to really be transcendent and really to live out all choices and all pathways. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing to do. However, as far as it making my life easier, it's not, I understand and recognize the fact that letting my indecision just be what it is, willy-nilly, raw, just let my indecision just run rampant is probably going to get in my way more than it's going to help. So the truthful thing to do is to actually to really embrace the intuitive decision and to make a choice. Especially, I love that the color red in both these cards to me implies the more quick, intuitive, instinctive response that goes with that. So again, so if I have the shadow of intuition and not being able to decide, that's not a bad thing because it tends to mean that I want to really fill out both sides. And I want to really be on the right path. I want to really live through both sides. However, it is probably in my best interest to embrace the heart side of myself because I'll tend to know or have a decision about something. It should be, as long as I focus on how I feel and how I'm presented with the situation when it happens, I should feel that I know what the right thing is to do. When I reframe it in what is the intuitive, quick thing that you think is right, boom, do that. And I can reframe it through that aspect of that. All right, so that is it for this video today. And I hope that it was helpful and it makes you view your shadow and your dark side in a totally different way. And so that you make peace with that aspect of yourself and embrace it and learn to work with it instead of overcoming it. Because it is a powerful, powerful part of yourself that is there for a reason. And it's a part of your spirit, which means it is indomitable at the end of the day. But it can be weaponized. It can be embraced. It can be used for the better good. Okay. So I thank you so much for watching this video, and be well and take care. All right. Bye.